flesh. It struck my heart. Why bread and meat, bread and flesh is what they bring to Elijah. Then Elijah will eat that. He will eat that. And afterwards, the brook dried. Now that brook is a source of water coming from a particular sea that is breaking down into streamlets. Remember Psalm 46 said there is a river. The streams whereof shall make glad the city of God. There is also streamlets, even from streams. Tiny, that's the one for this Kerit. So for that season, for that period, Elijah, that is the sustenance for Elijah. But that cannot sustain him all through. Even though it was the Lord that brought it, that stream. Now, the ravens will keep bringing bread. Where did they get the bread? I don't know. Where are they getting, raven? Something is also striking about raven, which we'll look at shortly. Now, assuming the brook did not dry up, the ravens will keep bringing bread and the flesh, both in the morning and in the evening. In the morning and in the evening, like it was in Genesis. Like it was in Isaiah 21 when he said, watch man, what of the morning and the evening? So, but the brook dried. Immediately it dried, the ravens stopped bringing. So, it means for that season, it was an allocation for Elijah for that particular short season. So, there are short administrations. I call this the administration of the meals of God, of the Lord. There are short administrations of the Lord that it brings to us. They are not the real thing. They are preparatory. And we must understand that if we don't go through this preparatory, it will show when we move up. And for this generation that likes so much of revelation, without basic teachings and knowledge and being grounded very well in the milk of God, they are going to have problem. We need to be grounded. We need to be established in the milk of the word, which Daddy calls yesterday the sincere milk of the word. Is sincere. We need to understand them. Many of the people in this generation who are born, when I say born, not physically, in the age where a lot of revelation, teachings about Christ and God are coming forth, they might be mistaken to feel that that's their level. You must begin where you should begin. God is progressive. I used to say those days when I started Grace Lab, I will write it as a writer. Revelation is progressive. Is that okay? Actually, God knows what he wants to do. Known unto God are all his works from the beginning. But when he's administering them to you, he doesn't bring everything at once. So immediately the brook dried, it's a signal to Elijah that he should move to the next thing. As a matter of fact, the ravens stopped bringing bread and flesh. There is a need to move higher. And the Lord led him unusually. The Lord should have led him to the palace of Ahab, where they still have some few things. But the Lord led him to the house of a widow, Zarephath, where the woman had only one small thing to a meal of flour. That's what the woman had. And then oil. A meal of flour and oil. And then Elijah told the woman, please, can you give me water? Oh, water is free. I can afford, we can give that. As the woman turned to go, Elijah said, could you please bring me a little cake? A little cake? Now, this one has now involved a human being that will have to process it. The one at the brook will just be brought straight. And then Elijah will eat. But this one involves somebody doing it, processing it, and serving Elijah. It means that there are servants that God also has prepared that, now, some people believe that this is my church and this is my church forever. It's okay. But you see, sometimes in the body of Christ, God has positioned some people to be at the gate, to bring in people. And when they are brought in, you don't have what it takes to sustain them. You must establish them in what brought them in, then pass them on. Now, when I say pass them on, it doesn't mean that they will come to your church and then you will ask them to leave your church and go to another place where they will be having the teachings of Christ. No. It means the body of Christ, like the Bible says in Ephesians, by that which every joint supplieth. So there must be supply. It means that ministers must not close their doors. Remember what Pastor Tosin was saying in last analysis? That I should be able to listen to you. You should be able to listen to me.